Okay, so let's just get into it. Like, what is radical honesty? What does that even mean? Why do we even care what that is? Like, I look at it, I'm like, oh, it almost like, oh, what does that even mean? Like, what is that to live radically honest?
Yeah. Well, first, it's probably not something that you can think about. It's only an experience that can be had because by putting radical in front of honesty, usually it's something that you don't even have immediate access to consciously because we're so used to. I mean, it's unfortunate and it's nobody's fault because we've been taught this when we're young to put on these masks. Essentially, it's manipulating how I want things to look. So I maneuver myself in a certain way to get a certain response.
Mm,
And so it's never fully me, but I
mm,
don't really know that
mhm.
until I began to contemplate what would life look like if I was radically honest. And the only way to do that is to begin start to free ourselves from the expectation of a response. Yeah.
That's so good.
Yeah.
That's so good. So okay, in one way, if I was radically honest, let's say I'm really upset with something, and my honest reaction is anger or it's frustration or but I suppress that, right? Because I don't want to come off as something, a bitch or something.
Mhm.
So I suppress that. Now, is that anger and frustration? Is that radically honest? Is that expression radically honest? Because I think that's kind of what we think. Well, me to be radically honest, like really ruffle some feathers. So, yeah,
I mean, isn't that interesting that that's the first place we go? That in
totally.
order to be radically honest, like if
Yes.
I'm fully seen by you, I'm going to ruffle all the feathers so I can only partially be seen by you. I mean, really think about where we go to just
Yes.
so, I mean, to answer your question, there's no real one way because it's a journey into the world of first just starting to embody what even is that
Yeah.
for you. So typically, though, when somebody gets to a point where they're lashing out, it's because I have not been honest and resentment is starting to build. And the true me is getting so buried that finally I'm just like, rah.
Yes.
But if I begin to live a life where I have the intention of holding the space of really what is radically honest, it's simply to be all of who I am, not 75% of who I am, not 25, which is, really today, it's a lot of, we've lost touch. That's why I said it's like a lot, it's not purposeful.
Yeah.
We're not doing it on purpose. We have just lost touch because of the fear of how we will be received.
Mm. Yeah, I really began to think like, well, then what is radically honest? And I keep thinking about like children, right? They're so honest and funny but they're just so raw. And it's like we give them that space because they're kids. But I always think, gosh, if I was like that, if I had this little girl come up and she's like, I don't really like your jacket. I was like, okay, if someone like an adult said that to me, I'd be like, what the heck?
Well, the thing about being an adult, or the thing about having traveled through life and having deeper understandings through wisdom, not through necessarily like calculation for getting a response that I want, calculated manipulation, just wisdom in and of itself, we begin to understand what has value. Like what's just saying something that has no value
Right.
and what's saying something that has value, screaming out at someone that you don't like their jacket as somebody who's walked the earth,
Mhm.
there's probably something in your life where you don't feel seen and heard that would cause you to just say that when somebody's not even asking you.
Yeah.
Now, if I ask you, I come up to you
Yeah.
and I say, Becky, do you like my jacket? And you don't. This is where we begin to contemplate. But how often do we not tell the truth or say we have a truth? This is a big one. Let's say you got a partner, and this can happen. This often count on it.
Yeah.
Say you're going through a phase where you're just not attracted,
Mhm.
and you hold that in and hold that in and hold that in, and you feel like you got to do your wifely or partner duty, but you hold it in and you hold it in and you hold it in. And you never really express a truth and trust yourself to express it in a way that holds space for one another. But it's only then that true authenticity began and can true freedom really exist. Otherwise, we're going to be living partial selves. And
Yeah.
so what ends up attracting to us is only based on a partial me. I'm not, because there's a big portion of me that's locked up.
Yeah. That I really can see that analogy as being inauthentic is like keeping our truest self like locked in a cage. And because of that, we're like, it's like we're fighting the world. It feels like the world is a fight. And that's my experience. As I've eased, open, allowed more space between my thoughts, become more present, allow the wisdom to kind of flow in. There is that sense of like, okay, I can speak this truth in a way, not manipulated, not sugarcoated, because that was one thing I was really good at, is sugarcoating it.
Yeah,
And then the message doesn't really get through, and then I feel resentful. And
yeah,
so I feel like that's something to really think about. It's like if we're feeling resentful, it is because we're not expressed.
100%.
Yes.
And this is when quirky behaviors start to come out, right?
Mhm.
And it's like, it's not your fault, and we're all quirky, right? Every human condition has some kind of quirk to it. All personalities are, but it's usually because some facet of our lives we're not being expressed. And now, if we were to point to sort of motherhood, how kids pick up the most is not what you say or how you train them. It's how they're witnessing you.
Yeah.
What gets transferred the most is how they're witnessing you.
Mm.
Kids are so wise on another level of wisdom, right? They come in very pure. So it's just so authentic, what they hold, the love that they carry, the wisdom again that they hold. So they're receiving directly what they're witnessing. Because now as we kind of go on the journey of the human experience, we want to understand, what is this thing? Kind of like a baby cub watching a mama bear. What is this thing? I do this. Oh, I see. Do this. Because I can tell how my mom is being and how she's actually feeling. They're separated from each other. How she's being and how she's feeling are separated from each other. They might not have the language to articulate it, but they pick up on that fragmentation. I remember when I was young, my mom, I love her too. We've grown to have such a great relationship. And we didn't when I was young. And she was so moody in my experience, so moody. And then every time she would pick up the phone, like the phone would ring, she'd just yell at me and say whatever. And then she'd be like, hello? Oh my God, hi. And I would just get so pissed. And it's not that I felt like she should say, what do you want? It's just that I felt like she had many faces.
Mm.
I didn't understand who my mother really was.
Mm. I mean,
There was very little vulnerability in that, right?
and that's exactly where I feel we're pointing to is that space of vulnerability, authenticity, like that pureness that we all are, that we're so scared to be. Like, and I think if like for your mom, and like I even feel that experience too, like I experience it comes back as disrespect from children. They don't respect you. And in little ways, you may tell them to respect you. And if they don't, they're gonna, but in their hearts, they don't because it doesn't line up.
Right. That's fear. That's
But
not
yes.
genuine respect.
Yeah.
They don't want their screens to be taken away or be in trouble by you.
Yeah.
So they're lining up in that way, but not just to line up because it resonates with what they know cellularly to be true. Because remember, they come in tune.
Yeah.
And so when they feel a fragmentation, it's like they don't know why something's off. They just know something's not right. They don't have the language. They just sense something's not right.
I mean, I have so many examples of how that can play out. And like one is just someone coming home or me being in a really bad mood. It's like they mirror you. They're mirrors instantaneously and throughout their entire lives. And because what I'm seeing is because of the subconscious, I can't see those parts in me, but when I see them do it, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's me, you know? And so it's like what I believe this conversation leads to is like the more that we become conscious and aware of our inauthentic nature and not being fully expressed rest, we can then move into that authenticity and then they see that. But it sounds great, but like, how do we actually do that? How do we actually get radically honest with ourselves, Ange?
Well, first we can start to wonder. This is my favorite thing to do. Wonder, which is to use your imagination. You know, when they jump into Superman or whatever that is, they really become that. Mm-hmm. Because they're wondering about it, and then they step into what they're wondering. So we can start by wondering, like, what would life be like if we were free wherever we went? And what I mean by that is honest. Isn't that what all of me is? Like, honest? Mm-hmm. I'm honest about what I feel, who I am, what I am in this moment with you. Also say that the most beautiful relationships have the most difficult conversations, mm-hmm. which takes courage, right? Because think about, if you are honest, we could start in our relationships, right? These are the places we're on. I don't want to rock the boat. Yeah. I don't want my husband to be moody. I don't want the silent treatment. I don't want him to withhold his love. All of these things. So then I'm going to position myself to try to calculate his responses. And I'm only going to be out there a little bit. And I know him so well, so I know what to say, all based on calculation. This isn't my truth at all. In fact, I've done this so long to my friends, my husband, my parents, that I don't even know what that is for me anymore. Yeah. But I can begin to wonder if I was honest. And I let the chips fall based on my authentic truth. That just means honest. We know when we're not being honest. Hey, Becky, you want to come to this dinner I have tomorrow night at 7? And deep down you're like, I really don't want to go to that. I really don't. But you tell me, I don't know. Let me check. I might be busy. You're just basically lying to me.
Yes. Yeah.
So if we began to just sort of wonder in life how it would look if we stopped, not even just a white lie, stop being dishonest. Mm-hmm. Now, there are these beautiful ways, like say you go to a play or something, I'm in a play and it sucked and I was just terrible and the play was just awful. And that's your honest opinion. And I say, Becky, what'd you think of the play? There are probably things that are honest that you would say, Angela, you're one of the most courageous people I know. That's honest. Yeah. Now your wisdom is connected to honest. And then in the probably a better timing based on that wisdom, we can start to trust ourselves in all these facets. We'll discover what is the better timing. Then you might say, Angela, I want to share something with you. Now I get to receive a truth that doesn't enable me. And you can trust me. If I have a response, let me feel it. Let me go through whatever I've got to feel so that I could get to the other side of that too. So this is how we begin. And the first thing you're going to do is start noticing all the places that you're not honest. Yeah. This is, you don't want to deal with it. Mm-hmm. You don't want to step into that.
Well, and I love that, because when we're honest, like you said in your example, and when we give that honest feedback, wisdom with love, then it ripples into someone else for them to say, oh, I see that. And however they take it is not a responsibility, but there is a ripple effect to bringing to light what you are honestly seeing. And I love that you start to see, where am I dishonest? Where am I not looking at our life? Even like our finances, right? It's like, well, if I just don't look, you're not being honest. You're not saying, this is what the situation is. It's kind of one of those things you're just like, I'm not going to deal with it. Is that dishonesty?
The honest truth is, I'm afraid to look.
Yes.
That's just honest. I'm afraid to look. Mm-hmm. I'm afraid of the pressure that I'll feel. Yes. I'm afraid that it might have me feel like I'm not free. Mm-hmm. I'm afraid that I feel these feelings. Mm-hmm. And once I'm honest, then I can maneuver. But if I never, an unspoken truth, if I'm withholding, I just don't say it, right? Yeah. It is the same thing as not being honest. I'm just withholding the truth. Right. So let's say that you are honest and then things do move and shift. Because based on your truth, somebody goes, I don't like you. Mm-hmm. So maybe, would you rather live a life where who's in your life is there because of all of you, or just components of you that you're adjusting yourself to be, and that's why they're there? Yeah. And then your full truth comes out and maybe it's not aligned. But wouldn't you rather the world begin to adjust on your full truth? What about the things that start to come in that
Yeah.
right now you don't even have room for because of all these things you keep holding on to based on half of you that don't even fit in your life?
Yes. Yes.
It
I
takes
think
wild courage.
wild courage. It really, I mean, every conversation we have and whatever we put out in front of the audience, it takes wild courage to truly open our hearts and receive what we are here to receive, because we have to open, we have to release, we have to be available to receive our desires. And if we're all clutched up, holding on and trying to get all the lies that we've created and keep them up, it's exhausting. It just drains our life force.
Yes. Now imagine with me again. You talk to your husband and you say, listen, it scares me to say this. I'm not leaving. I want to work through this, but I know I have to tell you the truth.
Mhm.
I'm having trouble with attraction. Now let's say your husband goes, oh, and takes it on and goes through a feeling and whatever. And now let's say you get to a point where you both say, okay, let's work through this together. What is that?
Oh my God. It's beautiful. And I can totally, Angela, you said that the most beautiful conversation, the most beautiful relationships have the hardest conversations.
Yes.
And it is the truth. And you have kind of helped me push me off that cliff, which was a ledge, to have some really challenging conversations with Scott. And as scary as it was, I didn't know if this was going to be the end of our relationship, if I was going to be moving out. It opened up something. It pushed us into a new way of communicating. He felt more expressed. I felt more expressed. It wasn't pretty. It was so uncomfortable, so challenging. But at the end, we were both like bare, vulnerable, like, it was so beautiful because we were able to just release that which we were holding on to, resentful, and we're like, got to kind of clean the slate. And that took something to do that. And it was the most beautiful, beautiful outcome. And we still have to do that a
And
lot.
let's say you
Mhm.
were honest
Yeah.
and Scott said, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Out of here based on your truth.
Yeah.
Can
It
we
would,
begin to let the chips fall based on our truth? Now, there's a trust involved, and this is when we talk about radical honesty. There's a
mhm.
trust involved that there is, I can tell you this factually, there is a future you based on your truth because you had the courage to be radically honest and say something moved out of your life because of the truth of who you are. And now you open up a space to align with something based on the truth of who you are. There is a future you that has such reverence and honor for the you in the moment of time that had the wild courage to come all the way out and set yourself up, because that's a ripple effect. And the kids witness that power. That's what you want to transfer to the children as they begin to journey on in life. Not trying to be a perfect husband based on how they think the world needs me to look or be, because deep down I don't feel like I'm enough to come fully out. And if I am fully out, ooh, you're not going to love me.
Mhm.
Because if you don't know how to be fully honest in your life, please know that you're going to be transferring that to your children and transferring to them how they should be, not who they really are.
Oh, I mean, that just hits my heart, because truly the last thing I ever want to do as a mom is continuously oppress them as I have been oppressed, emotionally, and just my truth. But and as you say, like, we have to step into that if we ever want our children step into that.
And,
So,
and I want to just put a bow on it real fast
yep.
with, you can have so much compassion for yourself because it wasn't time for you to know this or get this or really have it kind of hit you in the way that it might by hearing it in this time. You can have so much compassion for yourself because it wasn't your fault. It wasn't your fault. None of it is your fault. You didn't know until you know. And now when you know, you can't unknow. So you have the opening to step into what could be courageous for you. And it's oftentimes what you just said that really hit my heart because of the children. Because of that love,
Yeah.
that's what often gives that extra push into courage. Like that's the godsend, children, and that connection, the gift they are.
Oh, they are. And as we look around, it's like it is so obvious. that it's time to take action and shift the consciousness of humanity for our children, because we're just going down a path that, I mean, every mother knows it's perfect, but we're all like holding this big wheel of the earth of humanity. And it's like, we just need to all grab on and start to point ourselves into being more conscious and present and truthful and being who we are, so that our children can step into who they're meant to be and bring their God-given gifts to humanity. So, okay, so we're ready to be radically honest. And even if we're not ready, we are still curious about it, right? We're willing to explore, we're willing to wonder, we're willing to contemplate what that means. But there is something that it takes in order to be honest. Like, what do we need to do? We need space, right? We need the clarity to know what is truth and what isn't. Because if we're still stuck in the spin of the mind, we're still in the illusion. We don't even know what's going on.
Yeah. It's so important now more than ever to set ourselves up for that. And it's really just, you can use your logical mind for this. If you want to get in shape, you have to set yourself up. And if you've known for the longest time that every time you go around this path and you're like, all right, I'm just going to do my, videos at home, and you never do, you start today that this is year 15 and you never do, then it's time to have a new plan where you really set yourself up for the support. And also, I can tell you, in today's time, it is about collectives joining forces.
Yeah.
Because that momentum is such a charge that one person cannot do alone. And so you begin to do something unknown to you, something new, something different. And it's when you kind of link arms like that, that it really moves, especially you get to be loved in the areas where you don't feel lovable, meaning this is where I usually stop, this is where I usually run, this is where, and then you are sort of held through all of that. Just simply by energetically, like joining in something that sets you up to stay in the conversation, so that you remember to remember. Because you can get hit in the face on a conversation like this where you're like, wow, that really resonates with me. And then you don't do anything to set yourself up to remember that resonating, and you just go right back into the hamster wheel, and it just is all for naught. You have to set yourself up today, especially with all the pings and the dings and the stuff. It's just an uphill battle there if we don't now, and we're just like officially in.
Right.
I watched the other day, one of my relatives that in mid conversations, just like can't help but look at the damn thing. Can't help but, and we're just in it.
Yeah.
So it's okay. It's the way of the world. It's the way of the time. And if it's not your cell phone, it's like some other distraction. It's some other thing. Oh, the PTA. Oh, this meeting. I'm so busy. We're just lost.
Yes.
And that's none of those things are going to be what you're thinking about or contemplating on in your deathbed that you had value for.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
You're going to think that was all just bullshit, and you missed the point of everything. Like my great-great-grandfather said, and his last words was, everything is nothing. What he meant by that is all the things that you chase and all the things that you feel like is so important to get, status, whatever. He's like, that wasn't it. This is it.
This is it. And this is why we have been led on our journey to create a collective of moms, to create a collective of women that not only do we help each other to remember, but we learn specific tools to help us align with that truth of who we are. Because it's scary to do it on our own. And honestly, it's impossible. There's no way that I could have had this transformation without a leader and a collective. And it's not even, and I want to say this, it's not a religious thing. It's about using the science, the quantum field, like this is to harmonize our minds, our bodies, our souls. And when we do that, and we get to that truth of who we are through practices as a collective, things do shift and they start to shake out. And it's so beautiful. It's like you start to see, like, oh my gosh, there's the light at the end of the tunnel that I've been looking for, that I've been searching for. It's like, there it is. And it's not through anything else. It's through you, which is so beautiful. It's like you get to learn, like, oh my gosh, I can generate everything that I ever need. And I know that's a little out there, but you really get, that's where we're going. You learn that you can truly sit in who you are and be exactly who you are and be loved there.
Yes. And to your point, It is more simple than we ever imagined it to be. And then you begin to have more and more freedom, the experience of freedom, which is who I really am. I didn't even know. I remember working with someone once and she said, "Do you know that you have like low level anxiety, like most of your, like everywhere, you just learn to make the best of that?"
Mm,
I was had to be with that for a second, and I was like, "Wow, that feels true," because I felt like I was always sort of like nervous about something, like just like a nervous feeling. But I didn't really know that life could look any different. I always watched my parents do it. I just thought, oh, I didn't know that was a thing. I thought this is just what it is to have responsibilities and be an adult, which I really don't like very much, but
no.
just not gonna I'm gonna stay here, I guess, and just make the best. But I all through my life I had this sort of feeling of like little panic, but that was my norm. And then suddenly when that thing starts to tune, I mean, I was in more harmony. I reflect and I would be like, wow, I didn't even know that it was possible to exist in the world with this sort of peace of mind. Listen, I'm not saying that everything goes perfect. I'm not saying I don't have feelings. I'm saying peace of mind around the whole deal. Peace of mind around the whole deal, not just bracing myself. Services. So to your point, you don't know what you don't know. I didn't know what I didn't know until it was brought to my attention. And then I started to be like, I started to wonder about that. And then slowly but surely on the journey, and I was sort of just not really in any collective either. I was just in
Yeah.
my own wondering, and slowly, and then I ended up taking classes and doing the things, setting myself up, because I realized once I got a taste of it, what's more important than that?
Yeah.
There literally is nothing more important than that, because then everything I started attracting in my life began to be a reflection of that ease. And when I wasn't in that ease, I didn't realize I was just attracting more of the sort of things that would keep causing me to be slightly nervous.
Oh my gosh, it is like a spiral. And
Yeah.
if you don't get out, you don't set yourself up to get out and be consistently to do these things, nothing's going to shift. So it takes so much courage. And it's more important than anything else. Like we think, I'm so busy, I have all these things and the PT and the groceries, and it's like this harmonizes everything.
There's nothing more important. And I want to be clear, this isn't some kind of sale.
No.
This is just a truth.
Yeah.
And if it resonates, then it resonates. If it
Yeah.
doesn't, it doesn't. There's no gimmick. Just look. Just really look. What's more important than that? And then look at how we spin our wheels, just kind of trying to be certain ways, and then we just end up going, I don't know. I'll just make the best of this nervous feeling, because that's life. And begin to imagine, actually, it doesn't have to look like that. And actually, there's data around it. Factually, it doesn't have to look like that. And if that resonates, then link on and
Yeah.
and begin to follow those things that resonate. Don't take my word for it. Don't take your word for it.
Mhm.
Feel.
Yeah.
Feel for yourself. Does that resonate? And if
Yeah.
that's true, there are absolute places that will cause that to grow inside of you, that truth
No
to grow
question.
inside of you. Yeah.
Yeah, no question. And that's why I'm like so excited, because I really do trust who's meant to be there, who it resonates with, who's ready.
Yeah.
Because some people are not going to be ready. And that's okay. They need more of the spin to know that they don't want to be in it anymore. And that's perfect. There's no right or wrong answer here. And at the same time, there are moms that are ready. There are moms that are ready to say, you know what, I'm going to take care of myself, not nails, getting my nails done and massages and getting my hair done and going on spa days and, weekend trips on wine into the wine country. That is, in my book, that's fun. That's play. Great. This is like true self-care. This is truly like taking care of your mind, your body, your soul. Everything harmonizes when you when you start to take care of your mind. And that's essentially what we're doing, is helping moms realize their full potential. Look at the opportunity they have to stop the spin and get into harmony. And it's like right there. It's so close. We think we have to do all these things. No, it's so close. And that's why I love the meditations and the teachings and the tools and the gratitude practice that we do. It is life-changing.
Yes.
And yeah.
And it's deep.
Yeah.
It's there are new ways, new perspectives to look upon something that once it's heard really does move the needle. So of course there are all the simple things that everybody says to do, but it's sort of putting whipped cream on shit because
Yeah.
you don't have the fundamental foundation sort of tuned and really reaching, which is coming full circle, that radical honesty, the foundation of me that only I am in
Mm,
touch with. So
yeah.
getting there, and then of course there are just certain things like the obvious things. You want to get in shape, work out. Yeah, of
Yeah.
course. You want to be happy. There's gratitude practices and all these things.
Yeah.
And showing you not to just put whipped cream on shit, to actually clean out what you didn't realize you were just making the best of.
Oh, it is like a big clearing, a big clearing.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited. I know kind of when we talk about it, there's all these different aspects and elements, but I'm going to have there's a website that you can go to the show notes, has more information of what Angela and I are talking. We're creating a collective of women, and we're going to be meeting twice a month. And it's linking arms together. It's walking on this path towards higher consciousness and truly raising children that don't need to go spend their whole adult lives fixing themselves.
Yeah. Yes.
At the end of the day, it's really about raising the new generation and
Yes. It's
uplifting.
about the children, so
Yeah,
therefore it's about you.
it is. Yeah, exactly. Because they're watching us. All right, everyone. Thanks, Ange. This is amazing. So fun to talk. I feel so inspired and definitely noticing some white lies.
Don't we all?
We all have them. Yeah,
There's a rabbit hole that just always shows you more.
totally, totally. So regardless, you come join us, link arms with us. Check out the show notes. And then also, I'm going to add on one of the meditations that we had before, just to put in there so that people can experience what it is like to go into that blissful state and what can happen there. So, all right, everyone. We'll catch you on the, oh, what's that?
It's always such a pleasure. I love our conversations.
I know, they're so fun. They're so fun. All right, Ange, thanks so much. And thanks, everyone. We'll catch you in the next Hippie Moms podcast. Bye.